killed a martyr, and I did it for your sake, for your pleasure. And Allah will say, you lied. You fought jihad so that the people would call you brave and a fighter, and they called you that. And Allah will order him to be dragged on his face to the hellfire. And another man will come, and Allah will say to him, what did you do with the bounties that I bestowed upon you? And he will say, oh Allah, I learnt Quran, and I learnt religious knowledge, and I did that for your sake, for your pleasure. And Allah will say, you lied. You learnt to recite the Quran so that people will call you a reciter. And you learned knowledge so that the people will call you an alim. And they called you that. And Allah will order him to be dragged on his face to the hellfire. And then a man will come, and Allah will say to him, what did you do with the bounties that I gave to you? And he will say, oh Allah, there was not a place where I could spend money in your cause, except I spent money in your cause for the sake, for your pleasure and for your sake. And Allah will say to him, you lied. You spent money so that people will call you generous. And they called you that. And Allah will order him to be dragged on his face into the hellfire. These are the first three people that will be brought in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment. Oh brothers and sisters, look how these individuals did the best of deeds. Jihad, knowledge, and giving charity. They are amongst the best of the deeds. Yet they did not do those deeds for Allah's pleasure. They did those deeds so people will speak well about them. So that people will say, he's brave, he's knowledgeable, he's charitable. So their deeds and the fact that they spent their life doing those things did not benefit them at all. Rather, it was a great sin that they committed, for which they are punished in the hellfire. So brothers and sisters, sincerity in our deeds is of the utmost importance. We have to make sure that we do our deeds purely and sincerely for the pleasure of Allah. The companions of the Prophet used to consider that shirk al-asghar or riyā, they used to consider it more serious than the major sins like drinking alcohol and fornicating, and as we mentioned, the ones that we all know. They used to consider insincerity worse, because the insincerity in the deed is a type of shirk. And shirk, even if it is a lesser shirk, is worse than a major sin. So brothers and sisters, this is something that we have to take care of. In fact, they used to consider, the companions, they used to spend as much time trying to make their deed sincere as they would spend doing the deed itself. They were as concerned with sincerity in their actions as they were concerned with the action itself. So the action, brothers and sisters, has to be sincere, and also it must be correct. Meaning it must be according to the way that Islam has told it, or the way that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has taught us. The action has to be sincere and correct. If it is sincere and it is not correct, the action will not be accepted. And if the action is correct but it is not sincere, it will not be accepted. The actions, the ibadah, the acts of worship will only be accepted when they are both sincere and correct. And this is why, brothers and sisters, you will see why some people talk about a lot jihad al-nafs. Because if you do not fight the jihad against yourself, one of those things is to make sure that your actions are sincere, then all the other actions are of no benefit on the Day of Judgment. What is the benefit if we go and we fight and die in the battlefield, but we did it because, oh, I want everyone to think I'm a martyr, I'm brave, I'm strong? It's of no benefit, brothers and sisters. That's why we have to conquer our own passions and desires. We do not do things because we want people to think how good we are, how great we are, how good we are, how charitable we are, how pious we are. Oh, look how I pray, everybody. Delaying it, making the Quran more beautiful. not to please Allah but to please others. This is very, very dangerous. The other oft neglected major sin, there's no way I can finish in 2 minutes. The other oft neglected major sin that we have to mention, and it is very important, and in fact some people do not even consider this a sin, again they think this is something good, is innovation. Is innovation, bid'ah. Innovation, brothers and sisters, is extremely serious. Indeed, the Prophet ﷺ has told us, and we mentioned in the beginning of this speech, as we mentioned in the beginning of every speech, خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. The worst thing and the worst of the actions of the innovation, the new actions, the new invented matters in the religion, and every bid'ah, every newly invented matter, every kulla bid'atin dalala, every innovated action is dalala.